team's banner slid into the corner of her screen like a blue whisper. "Thank you for yesterday, sunshine." She had gone to switch the laundry and left the company laptop open on the kitchen island. The sentence glowed against a blurred photo of the St. John's Bridge, her desktop, like a secret that chose me. I didn't touch anything. I stood there with a dish towel in my hand and felt the way your stomach drops when an elevator takes off too fast. I wasn't supposed to see it. I also couldn't unsee it. "Everything okay?" Melanie called from the hallway. Her voice was easy. She was humming. "Yeah," I said. "It sounded like me. That was strange." "I'm Luke, 32, QA engineer at an ed tech company downtown. I'm the guy who breaks things on purpose so they don't break for 1 million students at noon. Melanie is 30, a program manager who runs our Women in Leadership initiative. She's good at rooms. If a meeting starts with 5 agendas, it ends with one in her hands and everyone thinking it was theirs. People follow her out of conference rooms with the look you get when you remember why you started something." She came back down the hallway, still humming, and snapped the laptop shut with 2 fingers. "Dishwasher fixed?" she asked. "It wasn't broken," I said. She smiled. "Then you fixed it." We live on the east side of Portland in a rented duplex with a maple that dumps leaves like it's trying to clean out the entire city by November. On clear days, if the light is right, you can see a snowcap far off like a promise you could drive to. Most days, the light isn't that kind. I don't mind. Rain makes small sounds. You can think under them. Later, when she was in the shower, I walked past the island and my thumb moved without permission. The laptop woke. The lock screen was up now, all safe and gray, as if the banner had been a dream I'd had while washing my hands. I felt a small hot shame in my face, like I'd been caught at something I hadn't done. I put the laptop back to sleep and stood there long enough to hear the water shut off and the bathroom fan kick in. "Want to grab carts at New Seasons after work?" she called. "Bake sale tomorrow. If I show up empty, I'll be unfriended." "Sure," I said. That night, I opened our shared calendar to add a dentist appointment and saw 3 gray blocks under her name for the past week. Weil Coaching, 7, 9 p.m. It looked like a new pattern had been drawn over a familiar week. 3 nights in 7 is a lot of coaching for a volunteer program, each block lined up with a late return. I pictured the team's banner in the corner of my head again and felt the same elevator stomach. I'm not a jealous man by default. I like structure. I like tests that prove their own result with clean edges. In code, you write a unit test, input, output, expected. In life, you get a sentence that wasn't addressed to you and a calendar full of names you didn't put there. You can either pretend you're not the kind of person who notices, or you can admit you're a person at a kitchen island with a heartbeat he can hear in his neck. The next day at work, I stared at a bug report and saw rain. My coworker Deshaun swung by my desk with his headphones around his neck. "You look like you fell asleep with your eyes open," he said. "Headache," I said. "From staring at nothing?" he said, interested. "From Portland," I said, and he laughed. "Happy Wednesday," he said, and walked off, drumming a beat on the edge of a cubicle as he went. At lunch, I went to the rooftop. The rain had given us a break, the sky a pale mercy. You could see the river from there, and the bridges laid out like choices. I scrolled my own phone and not her laptop. I wrote a text and deleted it. I wrote another and deleted that one too. Then I did something boring and correct. I put the phone in my pocket and looked at the horizon until my eyes stopped doing the thing where they see the shape you're afraid of everywhere. That night, another gray block, Will Coaching 7, 9 p.m. Melanie came home at 10,022, smelling like the expensive candle shop on Alberta. There was a small smear of lipstick on the rim of a takeout cup on the counter. I told myself you could smell like a store if you walk through it. I told myself a "thank you for yesterday, sunshine" could be written by a woman to a woman. I told myself this the way you tell a kid the thunder is just a big truck in the sky, so they'll go back to sleep. The week ran out and the bake sale ran its course. I stood in the gym with a strip of raffle tickets watching Melanie talk to a group of fresh hires like she knew their parents. The head of product put his hand on her shoulder and laughed. You always notice hands on shoulders when you've got a sentence stuck in your head with the word sunshine in it. On the way home, she said, "You didn't eat a single brownie." "I ate 2 in my head," I said. "Calories still count," she said, and turned up the radio. Sunday, my mother called from Salem to ask if we were coming next weekend because she had already bought peaches and frozen them for a future you. I said we'd try. "Is Melanie okay?" she asked in the way moms do, soft like she's handing a breakable thing through the phone. "She's running a lot of late meetings," I said. "Company should be careful with its best people," my mother said. "They forget their people." Monday, The third gray block lined up like a bead on a string in our calendar. I wanted to know without guessing. I wanted to look inside a box and find a switch labeled on and off. Instead, I had teams in my head and a smell and a pattern drawn like a track around the week. I told myself, a good man brings questions into the light. I told myself, a bad man snoops. I tried to be the first one. Hey, I said that night, aiming for casual like you. Aim a nail and hope you don't split the wood. Who's your coach? I should send a thank you for all this free time they're spending. She pulled off her boots at the door and stood up smoother than I felt. Different leaders rotate in, she said. Peer coaching mostly. So no one person? It depends, she said. You know how it is. I nodded like I did. I didn't. 3 days later, I had an answer I didn't ask for. In my inbox, in all hands from HR. Subject line, reminder, fraternization and conflict of interest policy. The kind of email that arrives when someone does something and a company decides to fix it with words. I skimmed it and felt a hollow open under the ribs. It was the kind of hollow that says, this isn't random. At 3:18 p.m., Deshaun sent me a message. You see HR's nuke? I typed, lol, yeah, and backspace twice before sending. Then his ellipsis bubbled and he wrote, we hearing. Someone filed a report. He didn't say about whom. He didn't have to. I sat very still for a full minute. Then I stood up because I didn't know what else to do and walked to the glass wall that looks out over the bike racks. I hate that feeling where your body moves like it belongs to a more graceful person, so you hold your shoulders like a borrowed suit. A minute later, my phone buzzed. Melanie, late start. WIL 79 moved to 8 to 10. Don't wait up. The message sat on the screen like a dare. I stared at it and wrote back, okay. I didn't ask a question in a text. Text. Deserve better questions than that. The HR email didn't say much because HR emails never do, but it said enough. Relationships between managers and direct reports were prohibited. Relationships between anyone else weren't the company's business unless they were. Conflict of interest wasn't a feeling, it was a set of facts that made doing your job harder or look like it was harder. That language rattled around my head with the humidity and made a kind of thunder. Our company uses Outlook for calendars. Most calendars are free busy, public. You can't see the title unless someone wants you to. You can see blocks, though. The next afternoon on a break, I was clicking through my team's calendars to schedule a test review, and every third person had a gray block that said nothing. Privacy settings. Good for them. When I clicked on the VP of Operations, Melanie's boss, I saw a block from 8 to 10. 1 hour overlapped with a block on Melanie's. It could be anything. It could be anything. It could be many things. It could be the thing that starts with, thank you for yesterday, sunshine, and ends with you staring at a wall, asking it to tell you if you're crazy. The anonymous report landed 2 days later. I didn't know it landed. I only knew Melanie came home with her jaw set and her mouth smiling too much at nothing. Good day? I asked. Great, she said. If you love adult teachers with whistles. HR? I said. She looked at me like I had said a word that didn't belong in our kitchen. Someone's stirring, she said. Women get punished for leading, you know that? All it takes is one insecure guy with a keyboard. You think a guy filed something? I said, careful. She shrugged with her eyes sharp. I think people hate when you make them look at policies they don't like to follow. What does that mean? I said. It means mind your own calendar, Luke, she said, and the way she said it made me feel like I had knocked over something I hadn't touched. That night, the gray block was 6 tack instead of 7 to 9. She didn't come home until after 10 anyway. I was on the couch with code open on my lap, pretending to care about a test suite, when the sound of her key turning in our door made my body do the stupid jump it does when you've watched a clock for too long. She came in with air that smelled like rain and something else, sweet and heavy. She kissed my temple. The kiss landed like it was being careful with me. Long? I asked. Long, she said. Worth it? Always, she said, and went down the hallway as if her steps could erase time. I got the email the next morning. HR, not the generic alias this time, a person. Subject, connection request. Body, hi Luke, would you have 15 minutes this week to chat about calendar access and IT hygiene? Nothing urgent, just connecting dots. The email was polite the way a cop lights you up at night and tells you to keep your hands where he can see them. I took a breath and replied, yes, of course, happy to help, Thursday works. I do. Deshaun rolled his chair over. You get a connects ping? He asked, dropping his voice, which meant everyone would still hear. Yeah, I said. They want to talk about my calendar. You and every third person, he said. Somebody kicked a hornet's nest. Not you, right? He grinned. I held his look a beat too long. He stopped grinning. Hey, he said softer. You good? I don't know, I said, honest. Thursday came. The HR rep was a woman named Allison who had that HR calm that makes you feel like you're in a very nice waiting room. A second box in the call window said, legal, and under that, observer. My mouth dried up a little. Hey Luke, Allison said, thanks for jumping on. Super high level, we're doing a routine check-in on device sharing and calendar hygiene. You'd be surprised how many laptops live on kitchen counters. She laughed like we were on the same side of a joke. I pictured my kitchen counter and felt the cold tile under my palm. Sure, I said. Do you and your partner share devices? She asked. We don't, I said. We share a calendar for dentist appointments. Have you ever accessed your partner's work email? No, I said. Taken photos of their screen? She asked, like asking if I'd ever run a yellow light. No, I said again. Cool, she said. I know this sounds silly. There's been an anonymous report about a potential conflict of interest within the leadership org, and when these crop up, people sometimes get tempted to play detective. The company wants to remind folks to let us do our job. She smiled like the camera was warm. I'm not a detective, I said. I test software. That's it. I wanted to say a sentence about a Teams banner in a kitchen island. I wanted to say a sentence about gray blocks at night and Hyatt receipts some other husband fact-checked on his couch. I didn't. Great, she said. If you see anything on shared devices, close it. You're not obligated to be the police at home. That's our job. The legal observer didn't say anything. You always notice boxes that don't speak. Is this about women in leadership? I asked. My voice did something small and dumb on the phrase, because I love that program. I've watched women get promoted because someone gave them a packet of power and stood next to them while they opened it. We can't talk details, Allison said. You know that. I do, I said, and she smiled like I'd passed. The call ended. 10 minutes later, Melanie sent me a text. Hey, sorry in back-to-back. Dinner? Thai? She added a chili pepper. I stared at the pepper until I had to laugh, because my brain needed a safe thing to do that wasn't making charts. That night, we ate noodles on the couch and watched a baking show where all the desserts looked like things that grew in the forest. At the end of the episode, Melanie paused the TV and turned to me. Are you mad at me? She asked. For what? I said. For being good at this, she said. A man in my position never gets an email like the one I got today. He gets a high five. What email? I asked. Never mind, she said, and smiled like she was swallowing a pill without water. It's taken care of. I looked at her a long second and felt two truths collide. One, that people do hate women with power. Two, that someone had typed sunshine to her in a corporate chat and my bones knew it wasn't about a grant proposal. You can hold two things like that and not explode. You just have to decide which one you act on. A week passed. The rain came back and sat on the city like a weight you wear until your shoulders get used to it. I fixed a gnarly bug with race conditions that had made me feel like a dog chasing a tail it had never seen before. Melanie ran a panel on mentorship that trended internally with a photo of her laughing under a banner that said, "Make space." One night, the YUL block was 6 to 8, and at 80:40 my phone dinged with a Lyft receipt for a ride from downtown to our street. Not my account. Her bank card was attached to our joint statements. The pickup pin was a building with a bar on the ground floor that smelled like rosemary and new leather. I sat on the pillow and stared at the receipt like it had been left behind by someone who didn't know I was the person who cleaned up. She came in quiet and dropped her coated canvas tote at the door. The side pocket had a room key sleeve peeking out, printed with the name of the hotel near the office where our company books offsites sometimes. My heart hit something hard inside me and then slowed to a walk, like it had decided to be a better adult than me. "Good night?" I asked. I said it like a sentence that could be many sentences. "Productive," she said. "We got the draft charter done." "At the Hyatt?" I said. She looked at me and then away. We met where the space was. "There are 50 empty conference rooms at HQ after 6, I said. It came out brittle. "You're starting to sound like someone who thinks my whole job is a room," she said. "It's not." "What is it then?" I asked. "Building a thing," she said. "And now people want to break it because a woman built it." "I don't," I said. "Then stop sounding like you do," she said, and went down the hall with a back like a door not quite shut. The next day at work, my manager pinged me. "Can you hop in for 10? I went in thinking production bug. He closed the door and sat with his hands in his pockets like he didn't want to touch the table. "HR wants to remind folks to keep home and work tidy," he said. So I'll say the sentence I hate saying if you see something in your partner's work life, don't collect it, don't forward it, don't freak out at work about it. Bring it to HR or bring it nowhere. I haven't collected anything, I said. I know, he said, saying it anyway. I saw a Teams banner, I said, by accident. He blinked. That happens. It said a sentence I can't unhear, I said. He nodded slow. You okay? I don't know, I said. Take whatever you need, he said. I like you here when you're here. Me too, I said, and meant both parts. 2 nights later, the calm broke. Melanie came home late and found me at the dining table with my laptop open, my work one, and a notepad. I wasn't writing anything. I was looking at her calendar. The block was labeled Will 111 and the location said off-site. She set down her toad and took one look at me and made a sound that was small and angry. Stop, she said. Whatever you're doing, stop. I'm looking at our calendar, I said. That's my calendar, she said, at work. You have an obsession. I saw a message, I said. In our kitchen, it said. I know what it said, she snapped. It was a joke. From who? I asked. She folded her arms. From someone who respects me. That's not an answer, I said. And you're not my handler, she said. I'm so tired of men needing all the details to feel safe. I need the truth to feel safe, I said. My voice went soft because I was about to cry or yell, and both felt like something I couldn't afford. She stared at me and then did something new. She took out her phone and pointed it at me like she was taking a picture. This is what controlling looks like, she said, voice cold. Screenshots and fake concern. Something in me snapped back into a shape I recognized. The dish towel man at the kitchen island was gone. I stood and kept my hands where I could see them. I'm not the one with screenshots, I said. But if you want to talk receipts, I have a Lyft email with your name on it. I have a room key sleeve on the floor. I have a kid in my head that we don't even have yet who looks at us one day and asks why we didn't ask the question when it was time. She lowered the phone. For a second, her face went blank. A thing you do when you don't want to show you are not sure which store you're in anymore. Then the blankness went away and she put the phone face down on the table like an offering. We're done, she said. With this conversation, I have to sleep. Me too, I said, and neither of us did. Monday morning, Allison from HR scheduled a quick sync with Melanie's org. The invite was all neutral words, like a beige room. At 10, our company learned things without being told them. Allison talked about policies and power and why people in charge don't get to date people whose reviews they write. She didn't say names, she didn't have to. Slack lit up like someone had struck flint against flint in a dry room. I ignored it and wrote tests for a feature that would let a teacher pause a video and know if their student had watched to the end. Outcomes. You can measure them. You can measure a lot and still not know what you need. At lunch, in the cafeteria on 3, I watched Melanie sit with our VP of Operations. He talked, she listened, then she talked, he listened. He put his hands on the table. She kept hers in her lap. Whatever you could learn from that, I learned it and filed it under maybe. The confrontation came on a Tuesday. I got called to HR again. This time, when the window opened, it had Allison and legal and surprise a man from security with a face like he wore policy as skin. On the other box was Melanie. She looked tired and bright at once, the way people look on the first day they realize they're not in charge of the story anymore. Thanks for joining, Allison said. We're bringing everyone together because narratives have a way of diverging. We want to keep it fair. Of course, I said. I heard my voice in my own head and thought, that's a man stepping onto ice he didn't pick. Melanie has raised a concern that you've been accessing her work communications without consent, Allison said. I blinked. There it was. The trap had a name and the floor gleamed. I haven't, I said. A Teams banner popped up on our kitchen island while I was making dinner. I didn't open anything. I didn't log in as her. I shut the laptop after I saw the banner because my stomach fell out of my body. Allison didn't smile. Legal didn't move. Security wrote one word down. Do you have any screenshots? Allison asked. No, I said. Do you have any logs? She asked. No, I said. I have a Lyft email and a calendar you published to Free Busy. Luke, Melanie began, and I turned to her box. You tried to make me the problem, I said. You tried to say I was controlling because I asked why another grown-up called you Sunshine in a company chat. I am not the problem. If I'm wrong, I'll eat my own badge. But if I'm right, and this is a conflict of interest, then this is about policy and power. It's not about my personality. All right, Allison said, soothing water over hot stones. We're not assigning blame here. We are triaging risk. I'm not risk, I said. I'm the guy who stops bugs from shipping. Allison's mouth did the tiniest thing that might be gratitude. Melanie, she said, we're going to proceed with a standard approach. For the duration of this review, we'll ask you to transfer out of your reporting line. If there is a substantiated conflict, there will be a permanent change. Melanie stared into the lens and didn't blink. So no matter what I say, this ends with me moved? She asked. It ends with the company protected, Legal said, the first time he'd opened his mouth. I built this program, she said. I made it work. And it will keep working, Allison said with clear lines. Luke, Melanie said, and my name came out like a small thing you find in your pocket and don't remember putting there. Please tell them you're not afraid of me. I'm not, I said. I'm afraid of losing my job for something I didn't do. I'm afraid of being the guy who saw a thing and then got made into the thing. Allison closed the call with phrases about process and care. Melanie's box blinked out without a goodbye. Security stayed on a second too long, like he wanted me to know he watched people log off for a living. When it was over, I went downstairs and stood under the awning while rain made the sidewalk an idea. Deshaun found me and didn't say anything for a minute. You good? He asked finally. I did not break anything, I said. For once. Then you're good, he said. They like men who don't break things. Sometimes they also like men who do, I said. Not our men, he said, grinning. A week later, an email went out, small, precise. The org chart had a new line. Melanie moved to talent development. The VP of operations had a dotted line added for someone you could Google and find pictures of with 3 different dogs and 2 awards. A rumor jumped around Slack about a mutual decision. Someone put a sunflower emoji under the org change because the internet makes feelings into pictures when letters feel rude. At home, Melanie didn't smile for 2 days. Then she did. The smile was different. It had edges it had not needed before. I'm not fired, she said that night, standing in the doorway to the hallway where we keep a vacuum that never gets the corners right. You can tell your mother. I know she worries. I will, I said. You happy now? She asked. The tone wasn't mean. It was tired. Happy is a loud word, I said. I'm all right. I'm good at what I do, she said. I will still be good at it from another chair. For I know, I said. What do you think about us? She asked then, the question finally entering the room like a person late to a party. I think I needed to hear someone else say policy out loud, I said, so I wouldn't be the bad guy in my own story. You're not a bad guy, she said. You're a man who saw a sentence and decided that sentence meant a world. It did, I said. Maybe not the world you meant, but a world I had to walk around in. We didn't break that night. We didn't fix anything either. We made dinner. We ate on the couch. We laughed at a line about yeast that wasn't funny to anyone else. I changed a light bulb in the hallway and she thanked me like I'd done something noble. Sometimes you don't get a capital R resolution. Sometimes you get a Tuesday you didn't ruin. The next few weeks were quiet in the ways that matter. Melanie came home when she said she would. The gray blocks in the calendar had names again. Vendor check-in. Team Retro. I took a weird comfort in nouns that sounded like furniture. I stopped checking the calendar like it was a weather app. I started again on days when the rain wouldn't let up. I forgave myself for being the kind of person who likes knowing when a storm will end. I returned the room key sleeve to the hotel front desk and told the kid with the nose ring that someone had dropped it. He said thanks and put it in a plastic tub with 1,000 other discarded entries to rooms. We walked together sometimes after dinner across the neighborhood with its big rhododendrons. Once, passing a coffee shop near Laurelhurst, we ran into the VP of operations on the sidewalk. He looked surprised. He said, "Hey." We said, "Hey." Melanie didn't introduce me. He didn't ask. He looked at her the way a person looks at a painting they've seen in a different room. Then he kept walking. We watched him go and didn't say a thing until we were at the corner where a woman with a scooter asked if we knew where the new bagel place was. We gave her directions like people who live here. HR sent me a survey 2 weeks later. Be honest, it said. Were you treated fairly? I filled it out with small sentences. Yes, 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 but I was scared. Yes, I would advise a friend to do this boring and right thing. Yes, I think I kept my job and my name. Allison sent a thank you message in a tone that made me think she writes a lot of thank you messages that are actually small assurances sent to men on rainy weekdays. Melanie slid a mug of coffee across the island to me one morning and let her fingers brush mine. I'm sorry I called you controlling, she said. You were careful. I was scared, I said. I know, she said. Me too. I never saw the mentor again in my office. Maybe he left. Maybe he stayed and learned a word that had always applied to him but never stuck. Maybe he went to a different floor. The point is, the world did not ask me for revenge. It asked me for a copy of a policy and a steady hand on my own table. Do I think Melanie loved me less in that moment than she had the month before? I don't know. I think she loved power, the way it feels to bend a room so the air is easier to breathe. I think someone offered her attention framed as respect and she mistook it for a favor she had earned. I think I would have too, once. That's not an excuse, it's context. Context makes it possible to move forward without wearing barbed wire under your shirt. I wrote a long message to our internal mentorship board about conflict of interest. I wrote it in clean, plain words because that's the only way busy brains can read. It said, keep the doors open, keep 2 people in the room, keep the names we're proud of on the events where people can see them. Don't make greatness depend on a hallway after 9. I signed it with my name and my title and sent it before I could soften it. One person wrote back, thank you. 3 hearted it. I don't need hearts. I need rails. I need rails. I ended up in a new project 3 months later. A little chaotic, a little bigger than I had been asked to do before. Deshaun told me to shut up and say yes. I did, and then I worked harder than I wanted to, and then I slept the sleep you get when you didn't lie once all day. One evening I came home and Melanie had made a casserole that my mother scorns as middle-of-the-country food. We ate it and watched rain on the window and let the TV talk for us when we didn't have more to say. I don't check her team's banners anymore. I don't have to try. She doesn't leave the laptop open on the island. We learned something. It's not a love story in the way books sell it. It's a story about a man who did not let someone make him the villain for asking a question in daylight. It's a story about a woman who tried to protect the thing she built the way people protect the wrong thing when the right one is the person making dinner with the gray light on his face. It's about policy and privacy and the boring, brave work of abiding. The last time it snowed in Portland, real snow, not the dust that gets Instagrammed, we stood on the porch with mugs and watched the street go quiet in a way it never does. Everything looked honest. Tire tracks were either there or not. You could see who had been where by the marks they left. We stood and didn't speak for a long time. Finally, Melanie said, "You were right." I didn't say anything back. You don't always need the second half. Sometimes you just take the mug from someone you almost lost and you hold it like a thing you earned. Would you have taken the screenshots or trusted HR to run the play without your proof? Where is the line for you between being controlling and asking for clarity when work and love blur at night? If you want more stories like this, stick around, leave a comment, and subscribe.